Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Today in chapter 27 of 1 Samuel, we find David's faith begin to waver. David's been strong. He's been walking with the Lord. You read the Psalms that are connected to his story, and you find that he brings everything or looks at everything through the lens of faith, and he's walking with the Lord, trusting in the Lord, not flawlessly, but at least faithfully to the Lord. But we get to chapter 27 and his faith begins to waver. It begins to kind of wane a bit. And he says this to himself in verse 1. It says, "Then David said to himself, 'Now I will perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than to escape into the land of the Philistines.'" And that was despite the fact that he had seen the deliverance of the Lord so many times. And at least twice he had the opportunity to kill Saul, which showed that, God was leading him and helping him and being his protection. Again, you read some of the Psalms in connection to the times when he was delivered from Saul's hands. He clearly sees that God is his protector, that he can leap over a wall with the Lord. He can do all these wonderful things. But now he's kind of getting into a point of despair. He's saying, you know what? I will perish one day by the hand of Saul. He's having a bad day, and he's just having a difficult time really holding on to the promises of the Lord and trusting in the help of the Lord. And he says, there's nothing better for me to do than to escape into the land of the Philistines. And now he's starting to make a plan, absent the guidance of God. He doesn't ask for the priest. He has a priest there with him. He could have easily asked for the guidance of the Lord there. But no, he's thinking within himself. And he's reaching these conclusions. And that's really where we can falter as well when we're living a life of faith before the Lord, is we begin to reason within ourselves. And we begin to think and, view the situations and circumstances we are in simply on the basis of ourselves and through the lens of our self-experience, instead of through the lens of faith and in the lens of God's perspective on the thing, and looking at it through what God can accomplish and what God can do, and also by not really seeking the Lord's guidance in what he would have us to do. And this leads to some pretty bad things, because as you continue on and read the story, his lack of faith led to a life of deception. He ended up going to the Philistines, and this time he is accepted there with the Philistines to live among the Philistines. But the whole time that he's there, he's attacking these different enemies, the Amalekites and others that are there on the southern border of Philistia, and all the while telling the king that he's attacking the outskirts of Israel. And so he's lying so that he won't be suspected of going against the kingdom of Philistia, and it leads to deception. He has to live basically a lie for the good year and 4 months that he's there. And then not only that, then he gets into a conundrum, because as you get into chapter 29, Philistia, the Philistines, go up against Israel, against Saul. And the king asked David to come along. So what is David going to do? David had already shown that he didn't want to raise a hand against Saul. He wasn't in it to battle against Israel or to cause some civil war. He can't attack Saul. But at the same time, if he attacks the Philistines, then it'll reveal his hand. It'll show that he really was deceiving the whole time. And it would put him in a difficult spot. And of course, he has to play along. He says, "Yeah, sure, I'll go with you. Yeah, no problem. Now you'll really see what your servant can do." He says, fortunately, the things play out to where he ends up not having to go to battle, but still, it put him in a tight spot. And these are the things that can come out of our lives when we begin to waver in our faith, when we begin to walk after our own ways. If we're not careful, we're going to drift, and we're going to end up in the enemy's camp. And we're going to end up not only living for ourselves, but maybe even under the rule of Satan, and being subjected to his rule and control. And when that happens, then we might be tempted to deceive. Remember, Satan is the great deceiver. He is the liar. He was a liar from the beginning, Jesus says. And when we're under his camp and we're under his guidance, then we're trying to live a double life. And a double life leads to deception and trying to pull the wool over on people's eyes. And the longer you do that, it leads you to a conundrum, because eventually you're going to come to a crossroads where you either got to keep living the lie and keep the lie up, or you got to come clean. And that happens quite often. So let's take this example by David here towards the end of 1 Samuel to heart and recognize the fact that we need to remain faithful to the Lord, even if we're having a hard time at it, even if we've been struggling for a long time and we're just tired, and for once we just want to do it our way. Let's take this to heart, use it as encouragement to not do that. Just to keep walking with the Lord, trusting in the Lord, remind ourselves about the truths and connection to the Lord, and try to stay away from reasoning in ourselves, trying to figure out how we can protect ourselves and things like that. Just walk wholeheartedly with the Lord, and it'll save us from a lot of trouble. We won't have to live a life of deception. We won't end up in these different conundrums between trying to live a double life. We'll just be able to walk at least with a peace of mind and a clean conscience before God and before man. So that's our encouragement today. I do thank you guys for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.